Hey, Suzanne, how are you?
Hey, doing well, Andrew. How are you?
Right, how's the campaign going?
It's going really well. It's going really well. But this is a lot of fun. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight.
Problem, least we could do. We gotta give you the boost you need to go win this thing.
Yeah, we got to take it all the way.
How is Arizona in terms of reopening?
Uh, Arizona is in a very precarious place right now. We have the highest pediatric rate of COVID. We're at 17% positivity right now. And we're considering opening schools in many places. So that's been a hot topic here. But for the general population, we've actually reduced our positivity since we finally started having masks be mandated in a lot of our counties and a lot of the cities and things like that. So we've got some good local like mayors and county board of supervisors who are really taking some common sense measures that have helped us a lot. We would still like the governor to do something.
What a time.
We're having trouble hearing Andrew.
Is this any better?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
There. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Sylvia, how are you?
Big fans here. We're so appreciative of you being here with us.
My pleasure. At least I could do. We got to help Suzanne win.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's better. People are telling me it's better now on the chat.
So, yeah. How has your day been going, Andrew?
Good. It's busy. Prepping for next week. Next week's a big week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I hear you're speaking.
Yeah, Thursday. So that should be fun.
Oh, wow.
I'm glad. You know, Humanity Forward Arizona, we're going to do a Zoom watch party for that. Ron Russell, our VP, is organizing it. So
That's
we
fun.
we will be virtually together.
Hopefully everyone's just watching the convention anyway, but yeah, like, you know, I'll get to open it up.
Yeah, well, and yeah, it's really nice that the public can join this year. I've noticed there's a lot of the different panels and groups, so I intend to be spending a lot of time just interacting, learning more about national politics, and hopefully getting to have some input in conversations.
That's a good learning experience. Some people are texting that they can't see me. Are we
Yes.
starting this program? And I think it's because I'm a participant.
Oh. Oh.
I know what to do.
Okay, just give us 1 second.
Let me check something else while I'm here.
Yeah, Erica is put it's possible it's at the host that we put
Yes.
at the
I'm looking for him now.
Take this slide off, so it's the Andrew's picture going to come out.
Yay. We can see everybody. Hi.
Hey, everyone.
Let's get started, John.
Okay, and okay, you just announced the house rule. Let's start.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here this evening. I'm so glad to see you all. Just a couple of house rules is we're going to keep everyone muted during this conversation. And I think what would be for better viewing for you would be if you put it into a speaker view, then you would see Andrew or Suzanne speaking when they are talking. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Don to get us started.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and some friends from East Coast, good evening. And today's event is our kickoff for the 7 swing state margin of victory API the event. And I'm so happy. And this event started from Arizona, and we Humanity Forward PAC and joined to support Suzanne Hug. And also it's at this moment, we have online donations. Over 130 people donated already. And this is much, much higher than we expected. We set a goal like 100 people is going to be very good. But at this moment, we have 130 people already. The people still come in. And I think the truly appreciate is Arizona Democratic Party API caucus, Sylvia Lee. She is working day and night to help to put this together. And also I appreciate my colleague Erica Magdalene to help us together put a Q&A session. At this moment, I want to turn the mic to Sylvia Lee. Go ahead.
Thank you, Don. This is truly an honor for us here in Arizona to have Andrew Yang with us, and we're obviously all big fans of Andrew and Suzanne. It is my pleasure to welcome you today, and I have the pleasure of introducing our wonderful Arizona Democratic Party Chairwoman, Felicia Rodolini. Before I turn it over to Felicia, I have a moment that I can introduce her properly. Felicia is a veteran prosecutor and trial attorney who served with Arizona Governor Janet Napolitano's office, in her cabinet as superintendent of banks. And she's known for her balanced approach to regulating companies and protecting consumers. Felicia was the 2010 and 2014 Democratic nominee for the Attorney General, and today she's the Director of Compliance for a multi-state financial services company. But she has another full-time job that she does 24/7, and that is Chairwoman of the Arizona Democratic Party. And she's taken the party, as many of you know, to new levels of civic engagement through historic wins here in Arizona in 2018, and now in 2020 as a battleground state. Recently, there was a column in the Washington Post opinion written by our conservative columnist, George Will. He described Felicia as petite in size, but large in ambition. As chair of the Arizona Democratic Party, she travels constantly in her effort to deliver the state's 11 electoral votes to Joe Biden. That's more than Wisconsin's 10, to note. This year, Arizona has long been emblematic of the Sun Belt's conservatism in the past, I should say. But this year, it's where Democrats are going to turn blue, and we're going to have a state that is going to make sure that we get Biden in the White House, and up and down the ballot, all Dems. So thank you very much. Felicia, turning it to you. Oh, unmute. Unmute Felicia, Dawn. Dawn. Unmute Felicia.
There we go. Am I good?
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you, Sylvia, for that introduction, and it gave me chills, and I appreciate so much you and your leadership and AAPI. You are a gem, and the AAPI caucus has been great to work with. You guys have pushed us, and you're pushing yourselves to be engaged at levels that we've never seen before, and it's paying off. Look at tonight. I want to thank the Humanity Forward organization and the National Asian American PAC for making this event possible. I am so excited to have Andrew Yang and LD25 candidate Suzanne Hug joining us this evening. I hope and pray that all of you and your families are staying safe and healthy during these very turbulent times. I just want to assure you that Arizona Democrats are working tirelessly to turn Arizona blue in November. We are capitalizing on the 2018 momentum, where we had historic wins, electing 4 women to statewide office, including U.S. Senator Kyrsten Sinema. We are 3 seats away from turning our state Senate blue and 2 seats away from turning our state House blue, something that hasn't happened in over 50 years. Our coordinated campaign, Mission for Arizona, got an early start in 2019, and even with the COVID-19 challenges, we have not skipped a beat. In March and April, and still today, we've been focusing on voter registration and getting our voters on our permanent early voting list to ensure that they get their ballots and that their votes are counted. Through statewide mass direct mailings, we have been chasing those direct mails. We have been working and building relationships with new voters and folks that we've put on the permanent early voting list. And we are now, quite frankly, exceeding all expectations in the responses to those requests and assistance. So we worked with our county and legislative districts to do this and to take advantage of the network of volunteers and activists from 2019 and from 2018, and it's growing through 2020. It's really been an opportunity to see the engagement across the state through our 30 legislative district and 15 county strategy that started way back in 2018. The response that we have received tells us that people are engaged and they're going to vote and they want to vote to make change. We have surpassed independents in Arizona to become the second largest voting group. And the Democrats are narrowing the voter registration gap between ourselves and Republicans. And the fruits of our labor has really shown in the primary that we had a couple weeks ago. We had a 6% increase in our Democratic voter turnout from 2016. In fact, through early voting, even with the Republicans having a higher voter registration than Democrats, on the day of election, more Democrats had already voted. And of the 110,000 independents that had voted before Election Day, 54% had broke for Democrats. And on Election Day, 50% of the independents who voted a Democratic ballot had never voted in a state primary before. That tells us people are really fired up to vote, whether they're Democrats or independents, to make sure Joe Biden is our next president. We know that when we invest and when we organize and when we focus on the values and the things that matter to all Arizonans, Democrats win. It's only Democrats that are talking about the values that matter to Arizonans: affordable, accessible healthcare, investing in our public schools, ensuring that we have an economy that works for everyone, defending Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, really addressing the climate crisis. And we recognize that it is more important than ever to mobilize the AAPI community in Arizona. Our political teams and communication staff have met with the Japanese Consul General to the Southwest United States to discuss AAPI issues. We have been pushing Arizona Democratic News in Asian publications, and we've been placing ads in mediums such as the Asian Sun to ensure voter registration and participation. We are so grateful to the activism of our AAPI caucus. And I was able to attend their town hall featuring some of our most prominent candidates, including Suzanne, very recently. So it's clear to me that Arizona has the best candidates in the worst of times. And as our country suffers from the chaos and the corruption of this president, we are going to make a difference. We are in the position to put a Democrat in the US Senate with Mark Kelly. He is running to put people first in Washington. And I know you know all about him, but it just goes without saying he's one of the most authentic candidates we've ever had. He is a scientist who believes in looking at facts and data. He's an engineer, for God's sake. He's an astronaut. He's a public servant, a veteran, a combat pilot. And as a result, for months now, McSally has been underwater in poll after poll. And now we know Trump too is concerned that she is hurting his chances to win in Arizona. So we are a battleground state. And we want to keep that status, not only for 2020, but going into the spotlight in 2022, when we have to re-elect Mark Kelly, and in 2024, when we want to re-elect our current US Senator, Kyrsten Sinema. So we will elect Democrats up and down the ballot. And I can tell you, you know that this is the most crucial election of our lifetimes. We have the opportunity to take control of our Corporation Commission by electing the 3 Democrats. So here is what we're up to. We have to do everything we can. We have to keep pushing full steam ahead. It's great to be ahead in the polls, both for Vice President Biden and for Mark Kelly, but make no mistake, the other party who wants to stay in power in this state and in this nation will do everything they can to keep it that way. So I want to tell you all tonight how grateful I am that you're here, because you know that we're going to be working side by side until Election Day to make sure Democrats win. And when Democrats win, everyone rises. When Democrats win, our budgets are balanced. We have better health care. We have a better education system. We have more peace, and we have more inclusion. That is why I'm grateful for you tonight for helping us raise money and for being disciplined and focused and united in the fight that we have ahead of us. So with that said, I want to turn to our program tonight, because it's so exciting that one of the true stars of the presidential Democratic primary is here tonight as our guest speaker. And I want you to know that there will be time for questions and answers, and that after Andrew and Suzanne speak, we'd like you to type your questions into the Zoom chat box on your screen. So I have the pleasure now of introducing Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is an entrepreneur, author, philanthropist, and former 2020 presidential candidate. Initially dubbed a longer than long shot candidate by the New York Times in 2018, Andrew became a top tier contender for the presidency, raising nearly $40 million in grassroots funding, with a vision to rewrite the rules of the United States economy through a freedom dividend of $1,000 a month for every American adult. Andrew became one of the most exciting stories in the 2020 race. Andrew's nationwide support, known as the Yang Gang, and I saw them in Arizona, propelled him to 7 Democratic primary debates, outlasting 6 senators, 4 governors, 3 members of Congress, 2 mayors, and 1 secretary. A surprising, enduring political force, according to the Washington Post. Andrew has been called prophetic and a phenomenon, changing the national conversation to a point where nearly 75% of Americans support universal basic income. Andrew then founded Humanity Forward, an organization built to realize the vision and ideas of his presidential campaign. Through both advocacy and action, Humanity Forward's vision is to foster a human-centered America that measures every person for their intrinsic value, not their economic value. Prior to running for office, Andrew founded Venture for America, a nonprofit that created thousands of jobs in Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and other cities throughout the country. In his best-selling book, The War on Normal People, he explains the mounting job loss crisis due to automation, making the case for universal basic income. Andrew was named a presidential ambassador of entrepreneurship by the White House under the Obama administration and a champion of change for his work with Venture for America. Andrew lives in New York City with his wife, Evelyn, and their 2 sons. We are so honored to have him with us tonight. I give you Andrew Yang.
Thank you, Felicia. What an incredibly warm introduction. I really appreciate it. Wow, look at that. A phenomenon. I hadn't even seen that one. Well, I'm here to support Suzanne's run and support your work. I love talking to folks like you who are in democratic politics in places that are either battlegrounds or aspiring to be battlegrounds. And Arizona is certainly in that process. The demographics are changing. I know the work you do is very, very crucial and often really, really difficult, frankly. So thank you, Felicia, for everything you do. I understand what the head of the Democratic Party does. It is difficult, thankless work. So I hope that this feels like someone else doing the work for a change. I hope. Yes. I hope. That would make me very happy. I met Suzanne when she was part of the Yang Gang, really, and the reason why I'm so excited to support her, there are many, many reasons, but she's a small business owner, a parent who just wants the right things. And she's someone who, frankly, should run for office more often, but often does not on a couple of levels. One, she's a woman, and I think politics just tougher and less welcoming for women, unfortunately, though that's changing. And Kamala's vice presidential nomination is hopefully a big part of that changing. But Suzanne's also Asian American. And I will say that growing up Asian American myself, my parents did not go around talking about politics and saying, you know, oh, you should get into politics. I don't think many Asian parents are really sharing those words of advice with their kids. You know, the advice I got was more around trying to get good grades and get a good job and provide for my hypothetical family down the road and the rest of it. But I became convinced over time that we needed to become much, much more engaged politically, that we needed to redefine what Asian American political engagement can even look like. And I was very proud to be the first Asian American man to run for president as a Democrat. And I will confess to you all here today that one of my motivations was that I thought I could make the debate stage and have an Asian face up there. I'd be like, you know what, I bet I could do that. And I thought even that that high watermark would be very important to the Asian American community, because I remember growing up a little boy in upstate New York and not seeing many Asians on TV, much less on presidential debate stages, and thinking, wow, like that would actually be a great thing for at least a lot of AAPIs around the country. Now, I had bigger goals than that. It wasn't like make the debate stage and you know, that's it. But there was a significant part of me that thought, you know what, I think I can create a different threshold for Asian Americans to think that all things are possible for us and that politics is something we need to engage in. And that's even more true now. In the wake of the coronavirus, there's been this surge in racism against Asian Americans because people are, you know, devastated by this time, and it's very easy to look to blame someone. And of course, Donald Trump has been fanning the flames by calling it the China virus and Kung flu and the rest of it. And so our leadership in the political space is coming none too soon. We need to fight, fight, fight. We need Joe to win, we need Kamala to win, and we need candidates like Suzanne to win so that you can turn the state house from red to blue. And this is the work that Felicia stares at every single day. But if you have Democrats in control of the legislature, then a lot changes in terms of the commissions and the committees and the decisions that get made. It's very, very crucial. It makes me really happy because Suzanne, the small business owner, awesome, passionate leader in the Yang Gang, now is going to be part of this lever, this spear that's going to turn Arizona blue. She's going to be one of these deciding handful of figures. And it's because she has the character and patriotism and vision and leadership to say, I can do more in my community, that I actually am going to make a better state senator or better state legislator than this person I'm going to end up running against, which is 100% true. And most of the people who think that do not have the courage and the energy and initiative that Suzanne has in terms of running this race, making the case for herself. But she's going to make a phenomenal state legislator. You're going to hear from her and you're going to see it yourself. I'm incredibly grateful to Suzanne. She was one of the first people to believe in me in Arizona, and I believe in her. I just made another donation just a while Felicia was talking. Sorry, Felicia, I did a little bit of, you know,
that's good.
like a little bit of efficiency, a little bit of Asian efficiency. But if you've made a donation to Suzanne tonight, don't stop there. Make some more donations, because one of the great things about these state races is that it doesn't take that much in the way of volunteer energy, phone calls, donations to really tip the balance, to make an enormous difference. And I see people texting into the window that it's also true. Kamala is going to be yet another barrier broken for Asian Americans. You know, Kamala herself is Asian American. I became friends with both Kamala and Joe on the trail running for president. And they're both great people, patriots, who just want the best for us and our country and our families. So I'm thrilled that Kamala is going to end up our next vice president. Joe's going to be our next president. Suzanne's going to be the next state legislator in Arizona. But it's not going to happen unless we all fight for it, unless we all sacrifice a bit of our time to volunteer, make sure our friends and family who might not be as engaged get engaged, and at a minimum vote, but at a maximum do more than that and do what many of you are doing here tonight by putting not just your time, but also your energy and resources into Suzanne and other Democratic candidates up and down the line. So thank you all so much for coming together. Let's support Suzanne and let's make sure she wins this thing by a landslide, by a mile. Let's not make this thing close. And you'll see what I'm talking about after you hear Suzanne speak. Thrilled to be here, thrilled to support Suzanne and other awesome candidates who are stepping up and doing the right thing for all of us.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you, Suzanne. You're incredible. I'm not sure if I was meant to pass the baton to you. There was like a little bit of like, and now what? I thought that there was like an MC to this thing. But I guess I'm going to do the honors then. It is my pleasure to introduce to you all the person who's going to be the newest and greatest state senator in the great state of Arizona, Suzanne Hug. Hug for House. Let's give it up for her.
Thank you for the introduction. So it's actually the House, not the Senate, that I'll be in. But
yeah, I kept toggling between those things. I knew the Hug for House thing, and I was like, oh, I don't think the House and the Senate are the same things.
I know, it's all local to you. But hello and welcome to all of our guests tonight. I first want to recognize joining us are a couple more of our Democratic leaders. Representative Charlene Fernandez, the Democratic Caucus leader of the Arizona House, is here tonight. Stephen Slaglaki, chair of the Maricopa Democratic Party, and our very own Scott Moore, chair of my local LD25 Dems. You know, there's a popular notion out there that ideas change the world. And that's wrong. People change the world. People making commitments and sacrifices and doing something about the forces that are tearing our society apart. I recently reread that line from Andrew's book, The War on Normal People, right here. And it struck me as especially relevant to our current situation. Growing up as the biracial daughter of a Japanese-American father and Italian-American mother, I have always known that politics affects our lives. Each year, we made a pilgrimage out into the woody, distant desert where the World War II Japanese-American internment camps once stood. And my father would tell me stories of his life there and the barbed wire that surrounded it. I would run my little hand over the memorial plaque and wonder how the leaders of such a great country could have done something so wrong. I realized that for many people, this year, 2020, is when the importance of leadership is being painfully learned. This year, we all have learned how deeply our local and national leadership impacts each and every one of our lives. We have learned that technology can be a lifeline as well as a barrier. And we have learned what it feels like to have out-of-touch officials ignoring doctors and making life or death decisions. But despite the constant barrage of terrible news, instead of bowing our heads in despair, instead of giving up, we are rising up. We are standing up to be counted, and we are voting in record numbers. When Andrew Yang and Humanity Forward endorsed me this past spring, I was a long shot, an underdog in a ruby red district. The hard work of LD25 Democrats who were reaching out to people who felt forgotten and hopeless was often dismissed as naive optimism. After all, what could knocking on doors and making phone calls and texting and writing notes and putting out signs and showing up at meetings and putting in the time and effort, what effect could that really have? Well, the combination of all that work and an unprecedented crisis has created an awakening among voters that should terrify the establishment. Our campaign outraised Michelle Udall, a Republican incumbent, and Kathy Pierce, a legacy family challenger. Take a minute to appreciate that. We beat them in primary votes, we beat them in money, and we can beat them in November. Turnout for LD25 Democrats was up 217% over the 2016 primary. And lots of us will remember those early days of knocking doors last year when we had to convince people they weren't the only progressive on the block. Now, we're on the verge of winning a seat in Mesa, Arizona. If the Arizona primary a couple of weeks ago had been the general election, we would have won this race. So tonight, against all the odds, I speak to you not as an underdog, but as a real contender. We have a lot of work ahead of us to win in November, but I want to thank all of you who have volunteered for our campaign donated money, talked to your friends, and supported me personally. Thank you, Andrew and the Yang Gang. Without your support, I wouldn't be here. So thank you. You know, our country is at
so
a
thrilled to be a part of it, Suzanne. Yeah. Without
and to
you,
donate
we wouldn't
twice.
be here.
But you know, our country is at a historic crossroad. In many ways, this is a fight for the very idea of how we're going to define America for generations to come. This is a new civil rights era, and America's long struggle to become a more perfect union is now in our hands. The fourth industrial revolution has arrived, and I say this with love to everyone here tonight. We are not ready for it. Our leaders and institutions have lacked the ability to understand and adapt to the new scale of this reality. You know, we often talk about a new normal in relation to COVID-19, but we also know that this pandemic has simply sped up a process that was already underway. And now it falls to us to determine what comes next. What will be the new normal? I think this is the moment to shape the future of our communities, of our state, and of our country. To create a new normal that puts people before profits, education before corporations, and makes public healthcare a reality. Let's make a living wage and a basic income the new normal. Let's make strong schools and sustainable energy the new normal. Let's make world-class healthcare for everyone the new normal. Let's make voting access and equal justice under the law the new normal. As people with a forward-looking vision, we're called radicals and extremists for wanting what the rest of the industrialized world already has. Think about that. It's not extreme to expect our state to fund our schools. It's not radical to expect quality healthcare that doesn't bankrupt families. It's not extreme to choose power for our lives that won't pollute our water. And it's not radical to expect government officials to act with honor and dignity and to represent their constituents rather than to rob them. We shouldn't have to demand these things, much less defend them. And the time for playing defense is long gone. It's time to step up and go on the offensive. Join our team. Please go to hugforhouse.com. You'll see links in the chat as well. Sign up to volunteer and to donate. This is your chance to be a part of history and to help shape the future. Thank you so much for all you've already done and all you will do in the coming days to help me share this message. I'm honored and proud to represent the great people in LD25, and with your continued help and support, we will win this race in November.
Woo!
All right, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Suzanne Hug. Everyone, please donate to her. Please, we need to get her into office. So I'm going to be doing the Q&A session. I'm Erica McLeod. I'm with Humanity Forward. And we do have a few questions from the chat. And the first one is actually for Suzanne from the Humanity Forward Arizona chapter. They are asking, are there Arizonans other than yourself that are Yang Gang, and how can we help them?
Well, there's a lot of Yang Gang out there, but I am the only humanity enforced candidate in all of Arizona. And really that's a shame because this is such a great platform, right? UBI is so universally loved. And this is the kind of change that's going to move us forward. A lot of these other policies out there are for the last century. This is the future and this is the now. So I really encourage other Democratic candidates of all parties to get on board with the Yang Gang and with Humanity Forward. And I'm sure they'll throw some links up in the chat, but you can look us up, Arizona Humanity Forward. I'm proud to be a part. I've been a leader in Mesa for quite a while. And I'd love to see more people like that.
Yeah, Suzanne's policies are where a poll just came out that said 55% of Americans now universal basic income, and it's 75%, as Felicia said, for cash relief right now, which is, I have to say, very, very similar. So it's going to become increasingly popular because we don't have many choices on the table anymore. And the fact is, Arizona is kind of a ground zero for a lot of this, because a lot of Arizonan jobs are in retail and call centers that are kind of like the first jobs to go, frankly, in some of these environments. Certainly retail is going to be very, very hard hit. And a lot of the other jobs are subject to automation too. So yeah, I agree with you, Suzanne. You got to get some more folks in Arizona on board. Your win will go a long way. That's one of the things that I say to folks is like, what's going to get many politicians on board is when other politicians win on this. So let's make sure Suzanne wins, and then I'm sure some folks in Arizona will be like, wait, what just happened? And then they'll get on board too.
All right. We have a question for you, Andrew. Andrew, do you have a message for us to take to our rally next Friday for the LD25 Democrats? This is from Scott.
Thank you, Scott. The message is that Suzanne Hug is the leader and representative you need, and that she's exactly the kind of person you've been waiting for, where she understands people, families, small businesses, and the priorities that you have for yourself and your own families, your own lives. The other thing I think that will become immediately apparent is that Suzanne is accessible and normal and not ego-driven or status-driven or out for some position. Like, she genuinely just wants to do right by the public. And most people of any political ilk just want someone like that in office, honestly. It's like if they see that it's Suzanne, they'll be like, you know what, especially the small business thing too, because I think there's a lot of crossover appeal there. One thing that breaks my heart is that small business owners tend to vote Republican because they're concerned about the business climate and taxes, and they don't think that the Democratic Party is business friendly, which I disagree with, but like I think it's a perception, and I think Suzanne can break through that perception because she walks the walk. It's like if you talk to her about her and her husband's business, then you're like, oh wait, like I think she can talk to anyone in the district, Republican, Democrat, no matter who it is, and connect with them.
All right, thank you, Andrew, for that. Let's see here. The next question is for Suzanne. Governor Ducey has consistently made cuts and stripped support for public education. And now, with the pandemic, he has reduced funding for schools who are providing remote learning, even as more resources are needed to provide the extra precautions to keep kids safe during COVID-19. As a member of the AZ House, what plans would you put in place to support public education?
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, the two people I'm running against right now, one of them is the Speaker of the House, Rusty Bowers, and he is so anti-public education, it's not even funny. And I think we've really seen that here. Arizona is 48th in the nation. Our teachers are not even paid a living wage. It's really, really a sad state. And the other person I'm running against, Michelle Udall, she's the chair of the Education Committee right now. Both of them should have really loud voices protecting our families, and they've been silent. They're basically missing in action. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that we have a floor on education spending so that our schools know how much money they're getting and that it's enough to pay all of these dedicated teachers. I also want to make sure that we have broadband access and plenty of technology so that people can safely learn. I was telling Andrew at the beginning of this, we have a 17% pediatric COVID positivity rate right now. What that means is we have a higher percentage of kids testing positive than any other state in the nation. This isn't just about reading and writing. This is about our lives. So that's one of the first things I want to do. When I get in there, people are like, what is your first things? I'm like, COVID really changed the script. What I need to do right now is save people.
Thank you so much for that response. That was from Cece, by the way. We have another question for you. Do you plan on implementing any UBI in Arizona? I'm one of the people who will not qualify for the new government unemployment $400 bonus because our state unemployment pay is so low that I don't meet the $100 threshold because I've been working 12 to 15 hours a week.
I am so sorry that that you're in that state and that you're not getting served by the existing government supports. So I'll tell you what's going on in the UBI trials. The fastest way to a UBI trial, and it's not that fast, but it's going to be the most effective. There are now 20 mayors, including the mayors of Los Angeles and Atlanta, who've joined something called Mayors for a Guaranteed Income. And so if you get the mayor of your town in Arizona to join Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, you can tell them that they'll get like $100,000 in free money to study universal basic income, essentially to staff it. It's kind of lovely. And then they just have to agree to a trial. So there are different sources of money in different localities, but the big step is that your mayor has to come on and say, we should have universal basic income in our community. Now, that's not for your immediate situation. That's more long-term and prospective. We're giving some micro grants through Humanity Forward right now and movehumanityforward.com. Unfortunately, there's a very long waiting list. And so it may not, it might not reach you in like an incredibly punctual way, given the queue we have. But that's like an immediate thing. Longer term, it is to try and get mayors and communities on board to roll out universal basic income. You have 20 cities already that have joined, and some of the cities are quite small. One city is Holyoke, Massachusetts. So it doesn't need to be one of the really big municipalities. But thank you for the question. And it breaks my heart that so many people right now could use universal basic income or cash relief and aren't getting it because our government does not have its act together.
And I'll just say that I recently heard that our Tucson, which is one of our larger cities, got some CARES Act money, and they are going to be giving direct cash assistance to people. And I think that's what it is. It's local government, when you get the chance to give people direct cash assistance, doing it. And once we see how that works, how it improves the economy, I know with UBI, the data shows it's going to be a 12% boost to our economy when we get that first year. Right. So right now we're seeing countries too that are doing something similar to UBI. They're not seeing the dips that we're seeing. Right? We had a 32% drop nationally in our GDP. That's unprecedented, and it didn't need to happen. So this is a policy that I'm going to be pushing forward. I'm going to be talking about, and whenever we can get a trial run, just like Andrew was talking about, or we can do it with different types of local grants, I'm going to be pushing for that.
Thank you. We love UBI. I'm pretty sure a lot of the Yang Gang is out there. Very pleased to hear that. So another one for you, Suzanne, from Nico. How can the state step in to help with income inequality? Can universal income be passed by the state?
Universal income and the state is a little bit harder just because of the way the tax revenue works. And in Arizona, we have a problem with our tax code. There's a law saying that we can't really change, reallocate, or raise taxes without a 2/3 majority. And when was the last time anybody had a 2/3 majority? So that's been one of the ways that the Republican-controlled legislature has kept Arizona from raising the funds necessary to do these kinds of large projects. And to bring us back from the recession that this COVID crisis is causing, we're going to need really big projects. It's not that I love large government spending, it's that the government is a good tool for helping fix things like income inequality.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a question. The next question is for Andrew and for Suzanne. Are you guys University of Arizona fans or Arizona State University fans?
This is a great question. This is a very important question. No, I know more ASU folks, and so like I'm generally attracted to ASU. I will say clearly I don't have strong loyalties in one direction or another. So for the sake of this chat, I'm going to say like I'm a bandwagon ASU person at the moment. Subject to change based upon like any of a number of things. Yeah, sorry.
All right, Suzanne, save Andrew from himself.
Okay, so for me, this is easy because I am an ASU alum. I got my degree in economics, and that's where I met my husband. He got his degree in history. So we are ASU all the way. But I do have to give a little bit of love to the Wildcats. One of my best friends, Sarah, is a Wildcat. And we worked together for years in the insurance industry, and we would give each other grief all the time. And also, yes, a shout out to the Lumberjacks up north. We don't want to forget you. But otherwise, ASU for life.
I'm so oblivious to either, I'm ashamed to say. Being in New Jersey does not benefit me right now.
I kind of chose correctly.
You did, Andrew. You chose well.
There was some kind of something in the air that made me think.
Yeah. Okay. So I have another question for Suzanne from Taylor. How do you feel about sustainable energy, and what would you like to see happen?
Oh, I love sustainable energy. And I would love to see it more. There is no reason Arizona shouldn't be the absolute leader in solar. We got a lot of sun, folks. In case you haven't noticed, we don't even have monsoons anymore to mess with it. So I think we should be having solar on everything. Our schools should be solar paneled. We should be replacing our electric grid so that it's more dispersed and that it's going to be cheaper. The other thing too, though, is I want to make sure that if you put up solar, that there isn't anything in the way and that we can actually get back some of the incentives for buying electric cars. I know one of my biggest supporters, Peter, out there, he drives a Tesla and he loves it, and he'd love to see more people on the road like that, and I would too.
Oh, Teslas are actually quite beautiful. Okay, so we have another question. This one doesn't have a name associated with it. Miss Hug, besides your own, which other state legislative races are key to Democratic majority that will allow us to control the agenda?
There are several races out there that are really close, very doable. I don't have them all off the top of my head. I know LD20 is a strong one, and 21 and LD28 are the three that come to mind, where I know that there's a lot of enthusiasm and fundraising and just really solid candidates. And I want to say they're all women too.
Wow.
I'm sure that's totally a coincidence, Suzanne.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just one or two more questions here. What are you going to be, this is for Suzanne, what are you going to be, what are going to be your top 3 priorities as a newly elected Arizona House member?
Well, my first priority is to get us out of this situation. So we need to focus on public health because we need to get our schools back open. We need to get our economy up and running, but in a way that's smart, data-driven, and sustainable. And so those are really what I'm going to be doing, is going and meeting the other members. I'm already familiar with and a good acquaintances with several other people in the House right now. And I know that they have good legislation ready to go. So what I need to do is get my feet under me, understand what's being proposed, and what's going to have the biggest immediate effect on the people in Arizona.
Arizona needs you, for sure. Okay, so I think this is our final question.
I just texted an Asian doctor, a friend of mine in Arizona, with Suzanne's website, being like, hey, hey, have you donated to her yet? Anyway, just letting you know.
You're doing your job so well, Andrew. Thank you. Okay, okay, so this is our last question, I believe. Question for Suzanne and Andrew. As the racial climate continues to worsen, what can we do as citizens to decrease racial injustice, discrimination, and violence? And this is from Daisy.
That's a great question. Do you want to take it first, Andrew?
Yeah, I'll start it off. And no, I do think this election is crucial on that level. If you have Joe and Kamala in the White House, then it does set a tone that that we're back to where we were in terms of being on track to be a modern, inclusive democracy that has different types of people in positions of leadership, and it stops the normalization of some of the nasty racist behavior and rhetoric that is now becoming, unfortunately, socially acceptable in many venues. So I'd say number one, we got to win this thing in the fall, and that's true at the national level. It's true at the local level. I think having government leaders locally in terms of the state house and mayors and people in Arizona who also say, look, we're all in this together, and people who might have different backgrounds than you are just as American as you are. I think that is very, very important. Doesn't solve the entire problem, but it's the first thing that we need to do. The second thing is to try and address the root causes of these problems, which include the fact that many people don't feel like they have a secure future, don't feel like they have a path forward. They're looking around. And it's much easier to blame others when you're in that kind of position where you feel adrift or don't feel like your life or family or community is thriving in the way that you hoped it would at some point. Now, that's a much deeper set of issues, but that's one reason why we have to dig deep and have much more significant changes, not just cosmetic changes, not just like, oh, we'll have a few different people in these positions. We have to reshape our economy so that it actually works for the average American, which it has not in years and decades. I just talked to a very, very accomplished business person yesterday, and he was very forthright. He said, workers haven't gotten a raise in 40 years. And it's true. Like, workers haven't gotten a raise in 40 years while the cost of housing and education and healthcare just kept creeping up and is driving people literally insane. So we have to try to rip out the root causes of some of the despair that's driving so much division and, yes, racism and xenophobia in this country. But it starts with getting people like Suzanne into office, getting people like Joe and Kamala into office.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Yeah, I was listening to Andrew and thinking about what he says, and he puts it so well. So it's just another reason that we're aligned, because he's already saying a lot of my thoughts. But I'll tell you, my roots are as an activist. So after my father was interned during World War II, I actually did grow up at the kitchen table with him writing letters to Congress, demanding an apology, meeting with leaders. And, back then you couldn't text or email. It was handwritten letters. And it was people coming together across the entire nation that took to get redress. So I look at us now, and I think first knowing our history is so important, because I will bet that a lot of people here have learned a lot about our history as a nation in the past 3 months, and that we're hearing new voices that really should have been heard a long time ago. So I'm glad that we're having this civil rights moment. And it needs to keep going. It needs to not just be a moment, it needs to be a whole movement. And that's the type of legislation that we want to bring in, is real equality under the law. Because like Andrew was saying, people need to feel valued. They need to feel seen and heard. And you're not going to do that with the same old establishment people who have been in office for over 20 years. What we need is fresh blood and people from the community. I work hours at my store, and I talk to my customers, and I see people from all walks of lives. And that's something that I want to do, is stay connected and then be able to take that perspective to the table where the decisions are being made.
All right. Thank you so much. Andrew,
Let's
I think
make it happen for Suzanne. Let's get her into the State House. I have a feeling that just having Suzanne there is going to do so much good. And let's make sure it comes to pass. So I just donated again. If you're watching this, donate again. If you've already donated again, let's all just keep on donating all night long. But yeah, we have to make sure that Suzanne has what she needs to take her case to the people and win this race. You can tell what a phenomenal thinker, policymaker, and human being she is. She needs to be one of the leaders of the next generation.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate everybody's support. Help me get into some good trouble. I'm already loud. Let's get me in a place where I can be louder and be heard. And honestly, no person of color has never held this seat. Never. Right? It's never been held by a Democrat. If we flip this, this is national news. And rightfully so, because Arizona is changing, and we can be at the forefront of that. So yes, thank you so much, everybody, for spending your time tonight and for helping join this.
Yay, Hug for House. Let's help her win and then have something to celebrate after she wins.
I know, Andrew, you have personal goals for how many candidates you get through.
No, that's true. I do take this personally, Suzanne. But it's, it's a pleasure to be able to work with you on this, because I feel so indebted to you and people who supported me in my campaign. So this is a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, and I hope to be able to pay it forward.
Good.
Oh,
Very
you
much
will.
so.
You're already paying it forward just by being awesome. Sylvia, thank you for the work you do, the community. I know also not easy at all. Felicia, congratulations. If you're like, if the Debs get Arizona, you're going to be like the speaking incredible, like, you know, like well-deserved, like national hero. Yeah, so let's do more, not less. You know, it's a tough time, I know, but everything we do now has magnified importance. And we have to give ourselves a chance. We have to give ourselves hope. And the way to do that is through leaders like Suzanne. Thank you all so much. Appreciate and love you all. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'm going to go be on Bill Maher and then something else.
Oh, give Bill Maher my love.
Yeah, sure thing.
I've been watching him since I was 12 or 13.
Yeah,
I had I snuck out into the kitchen at night to watch on the TV.
Yeah, he's an institution now.
Yeah.
That's good fun.
All right. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Erica,
Yes, Don. It's your turn.
thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you, Erica. And today's event is so beautiful. Next week, we're going to have the kickoff for the API swing state margin of victory event. If you have a chance, just join too. Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
I want to give
Thank
a
you.
shout out to the AAPI caucus from Arizona. Thanks everybody for your commitment.
I also
Bye.
want to give a shout out to the Humanity Forward Arizona for all your support, all that you've been doing for her campaign. We love you so much and appreciate all that you're doing in Arizona for Humanity Forward and our candidates. Check them out if you're a
Thank you.
grassroots person. You get involved.
Thank you, Erica. It's so good. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.